Hi, my name is Jessica Angelo, and this is my student presentation for the week. And today I will be talking about form input validation. So form input validation is basically just a way to check the forms on your website to make sure that the mandatory fields are being filled in correctly and that the data that's entered is matching what you're asking for. So you can see a screenshot example of form input validation right here where the user has put in an incorrect email address, an invalid IP address, and they have filled the date out in the wrong format. So when the user tried to submit this information to the website servers, form input validation is what blocks that from or keeps that from happening and shows these errors, showing the user what they've done incorrectly and what they need to fix in order to submit this form and continue whatever they were trying to do. So I'll show you a quick example of how this is used on regular websites. So if you go to shutterfly.com, this form pops up and it is wanting you to sign up for a free account. So if I put in my name and then type in a bunch of gibberish for the email and a bunch of random letters and words for or letters and numbers for the password, and then I want to sign up and submit this form input validation is what is returning these errors and these little arrows that say, okay, you haven't put in a valid email address and your passwords aren't matching up. And this protects the Shutterfly server from getting this bad information that's incorrect. And it wants you to put in a real email address and passwords that match and that are strong in order for me to submit this form and for the server to store and save this information about me as a user. So why is it important? Well, it's very important because you want your users to have a good experience on your website. So if I had signed up for my Shutterfly account using those random letters and numbers and instead of an email address, and then later on I purchased a book and went to check my email to look for my receipt, there would be nothing there because I never put my email address in correctly. So I would be having a bad user experience on my website if the server was letting me submit those forms and storing that bad information that is not correct about me. So it's good for your user experience. It also protects your users. A lot of websites have criteria for putting in secure passwords, and that makes it easier to protect their account information. And it also protects yourself. You don't want users to misuse unprotected forms to damage your website. So it's important. It's important for a lot of different reasons, but it's definitely very important to do so that your websites are working correctly and your users are having a good experience and you're protecting yourself. There's two types of form input validation. The first is client side. That uses HTML and JavaScript. And this is the more user-friendly way to validate your forms. It gives users an instant response that tells them what they've done incorrectly. Server-side form input validation actually lets the user submit the form, and then after they already submitted the form, it returns back saying what they've done wrong. So it's better to have the client side because it's a little bit faster, a little bit more user-friendly, and it's quicker for your users to use. So we're going to talk a little bit more about client-side validation right now. So we'll look at some examples of HTML validation. And I got these examples from this website right here. If you want to go and look at them there's a lot more information detailed on there. But here's what I have here in CodePen. I have 3 examples of form input validation using HTML. The first one uses the required attribute in the input tag. So all this does is say that I need to have some kind of anything to make this valid. So I could technically just put in a 1, and you can see that this, I have the CSS showing me that when it's blue, it's valid, and when it's red, it's invalid. So I could technically just put in a number or letter or a bunch of letters or whatever, and this is going to be valid because all it says is that you have to just put something in there. That's input is required. The second Example I have of input validation uses the required pattern attribute, also in the input tag. And this example says I need to either put the word banana or the word cherry here for this to be valid. So I put in the word banana and it's valid. I put in the word cherry and it's valid. But if I put the word orange in, it's not valid. So we'll fix that one. Now it's valid. This third example uses min length and max length attributes, saying that this field needs to have 6 characters. Right here you can see where I've specified that there needs to be 6 characters here for this to be valid. So cherry is 6 characters, so is banana. That's valid, but if I put in 6 twos, also valid. So that just basically says 6 characters and this is valid. And those are just 3 examples. There are tons of ways out there that you can research online, that different ways that you can use form input validation using HTML. Those are just 3 really simple examples that to show you so you can understand how it works. Then I also have some examples from W3 schools, one example from W3 schools of how you can use JavaScript to validate your forms. So here's my HTML document, and then my JavaScript program starts right here. So down here you can see I have an if-else statement that is saying if the number is not between 1 and 10, input is not valid. Else, so otherwise the text is input okay. So if I put in the number 15 right here, it should return input not valid, this text string right here. Yep, input not valid. Then if I put in the number 6, which is between 1 and 10, input okay. So this is just a really simple example of JavaScript and how you can use that for form input validation. And like I said, there are lots of ways to do with JavaScript and lots of ways to do with HTML. So if you have any questions about this, feel free to leave in the comments below. And I hope that you found this helpful. Thank you so much for watching.